It's your host, Sable Danielle. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of our podcast. Today, we will be tuning in to part 2 of our interview with Raquel. Let's jump in.
It's really cool to see them like come week after week and like start to get to know each other's personalities. And if one girl's like not there, they'll be like, oh, we really wish so and so was here so she could do whatever, like perform her little there's this one girl who like performs she does like these episodes and she's like a one-man show. She talks to herself. She's like one character for a second and then another character for a second. And so it's like really cool to hear them say, like, I wish she was here to perform her show.
Yeah. I love that because you're right about being outdoors and kind of having to be vulnerable. I go outside because I like to quiet my mind. You're just away from all the loud craziness in regular life. And so I go out there and I used to listen to music, but now I like it to be quiet. But in the group that you're doing, the experience that you're providing a big group of people to do things that they've never done, but also still see other people doing it so that they get more comfortable doing it. And then also, I think pushing past fear and pushing past limits and realizing that I can do all these things that I either never imagined or that I was too scared to try.
Yeah, exactly. It's really awesome to see. Last weekend we went mountain biking and we were on just the very first hill and this girl took a huge spill and I was like, oh Lord, she's not gonna want to keep going. And we were like 5 minutes in and this little girl, she just got up and brushed her knees off and got back on the bike. And I was like, all right. And then like the other girls were like, yeah, you can do it, come on. Like, just like pretending like she never had fell.
Yeah.
And like throughout the adventure you could see her confidence just building and building. She fell a couple more times, but like you could see that as she like once she continued to get back on the bike, she felt more confident. And by the end, she's like, can we go back to that first hill and do it again? Because it was like the biggest one in the trail that we did. And I was like, sure. And sure enough, we went back to that first hill. She went down it like 2-3 times, was like, this is awesome. And she didn't fall once. I was like, this is why I do this. Like, this right here is why I do this, because like you said, they wouldn't even know if they didn't try. And she could have easily given up within the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible to watch.
And that is incredible to see how you impact people's lives, especially kids. For people who are listening, what age group, is there an age range for these girls?
Yeah. So right now we're serving 8 to 12-year-olds.
Okay.
So if I could serve every age, all the ages, adults too, and still like be alive and eat and sleep, I would, but I had to start somewhere. So right now we're serving 8 to 12-year-old girls.
I was going to say, well, we all have to start somewhere. We can't take on the whole world at once. So small impact leads to larger impact. And I think that that's a really great age to be impacting as well. So kudos to you for starting that and believing in yourself enough to go for it, regardless of any outside influences that, may have doubted you or thrown you off.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so let's talk about... We kind of talked about this. The first question said, how have unhealthy relationships helped shape you? But I guess this one was, what has pain or failure taught you in this lifetime? Which could be a little different.
I know everybody understands this. You can never see the lesson when it's happening. You're always like, why is this happening? Why am I failing? Or why does this hurt so bad? But I don't know, looking back, I think that my failures have really just given me confidence to keep trying. Like, I'm trying to think back to like these quote unquote failures that I've had, but really they weren't failures. Like they all led me to where I am right now. And so like I can't call them failures. And I always am like, oh, I can't with these cheesy, like there's lessons learned. But it is, it's true. It really is. Like there's no other way to say that. I think every failure or like painful moment that I've had has pushed me to grow, pushed me to be a better person. I think the biggest pain that I've had most recently is my father died.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. Like a month before I started Atabey.
Oh.
And so, and my father is the person who introduced me to the outdoors. And so if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even be doing any of this. Like I wouldn't be camping or hiking or anything like that, swimming, nothing. And so when I lost my father, I was like, whoa, this is like a pain I've never felt before ever in my life. And it literally just pushed me to go harder in a sense for Atabey. Like I was like, these girls need me now more than ever. And I need them now more than ever. Like everyone should be exposed to the outdoors. After he passed, I like took a 7-week hiatus and just went like drove to Illinois because I have family in Illinois. My mom lives up there. And I drove there with my dog and we just camped in every state on the way up. And we stopped at any and every body of water we could find. Which is very like, it's the Midwest. There's not a lot of water, but any like reservoir or lake that I could find, I stopped at it. And like healed. I healed through nature and also came up with so many ideas that I wanted to do with the girls. And so like this like huge painful moment in my life turned into like one of the best things that's ever happened to me. And I feel more connected to him than I ever have because I'm outdoors now more than ever. So I don't see pain and failure as anything negative, honestly. I just think that in the moment it feels like it hurts and it feels like it's never gonna end. But in the long run it just like makes you a better person.
I knew I liked you for a reason. Like everything that you're saying resonates on so many levels. I don't know exactly how long you've been doing Atabey Outdoors, but my story is kind of similar, very similar actually. Once I started doing this and actually decided to invest in myself shortly after I made the decision, but before I went public with my podcast, one of my younger cousins committed suicide. And so he has been my driving force behind all of this. Like, regardless of all the shit that I went through that I wanted people to know about, I want people to know that it's okay to talk about emotions and it's okay to talk about mental health because, I mean, it's just crazy that we go through life not talking about it. But nature and self-care and all of that, it all aligns. And sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. You said a lot of things that touch home for me, but you mentioned your dog. I recently lost, I don't want to say lost because I don't really like that term. I still feel like she's here with me physically, but she's been my road dog. I've got 2 dogs, Ace and Foxy, and for the past, with me and her, 9.5 years, and Ace has been 5, like, we road trip and we hike. Like, that's our thing. So I totally understand how healing it was for you to go on your road trip with your dog and just be away from everything and just connect with what really connects to your soul. And I think it's amazing that you were able to do that. And yeah.
I was lucky to have the opportunity to be able, not many people get a chance to heal after a loss. Or I agree with you. I think loss is not the best word, because I feel my dad in everything that I do now. It's intense and scary at times, but I think not everybody gets a chance to recover from those kinds of experiences and like truly do the things that matter to them after something like that happens. And it's a shame. I think that everyone should get a chance to be able to just take a 7-week hiatus whenever they feel like it.
Yeah.
But the world is not set up in that manner. And so
But even if you can't take a 7-week hiatus or a very long-term hiatus, I just think that's why, of course, everyone has different things that make their soul happy. In my case, in your instance, it's nature. So I think that's why it's so important to take the time to either go out in nature or do the things that really resonate with you, so that you're not just always agitated and not just always on go, go, go and pretending as if you don't have emotions, or just becoming numb, because it's very easy to become numb in this life. And
yeah, absolutely. I like that you said that, because another part of Atabey is showing these girls that they can go outdoors and do activities outdoors right in their backyard. They don't have to go take a road trip through the Midwest to experience nature. They could literally just walk around the park down the street from their house. So that was important to me too, is because knowing that the Black and brown community that doesn't have access the way that the white community does, is like, knowing that is like being able to provide these girls experiences that they could do on their own, that they can actually do on their own. And so like starting small was really important to me. Like, I'm not going to just throw you into camping, right? We're going to start with our very first activity was a mindful walk, which was actually a hike. But if I call it a mindful walk, they are more likely to come.
yes. Very smart. I like what
a hike. They're like, what? A hike?
I'm not hiking.
What's a hike? Why am I going hiking? For what?
Yeah.
So, so starting small just was like super important to me. I think, like you said, I think not everybody has the same, right? They don't have the same level of, what am I trying to say? Experience level outdoors, right? But everybody needs fresh air.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody needs a walk around the block for some fresh air. So if in any way that you can get that is important.
Yes. Okay, so you talked a little bit about intention. Why is it so important for you? I don't want to say why. How has living intentionally helped shape your life? If you feel like you live intentionally, and I believe you do.
I do. At least I try to most days. Wow, that is a question. Because a lot of what I experience when I live intentionally is unspoken. It's like an alignment that I can't describe. I think when I am making decisions and living intentionally, I tend to feel more at ease. Mm-hmm. I tend to feel like I'm living in my purpose. I'm healthier. I'm making healthier decisions, whether it's what food I'm putting into my body, who I'm having conversations with, what kind of media I'm absorbing, what kind of programs I'm creating for the girls for Atabey, who I'm working with, who I'm partnering with, who I'm asking for sponsorships with. Like, it's just everything starts to click. It's like almost like a puzzle.
Yeah.
Like once you put those first two pieces together, everything else just starts to come together. I think the universe is funny in a sense. The universe has a funny sense of humor. And I use the word funny loosely. That's sometimes not so funny, but I think it's funny because like one healthy decision will lead to another healthy decision, will lead to another healthy decision, and then by the time you know it, you're just like flowing in the essence of life. Like you're just like flowing through this experience, and it almost seems like it's almost seamless. Like you don't, like you're not really doing anything. The universe is all doing it for you.
Just like flowing.
Yeah, like all you have to do is show up and
Well, put in the work and show up.
well, you have to show up. Yes, you have to put in the work, but you have to also like be willing to look for the answers, like the tools that you need. Because yes, as you're flowing, tools will come towards you, but you also have to have the willingness or the desire to learn what it is that feels healthy for you. Because what's healthy for me may not be healthy for you, right? So I think putting in that work of like getting to know yourself and what intention looks like for you.
Yeah. And choosing to live intentionally, I guess. When I say putting in the work, that doesn't necessarily mean like laying the hammer down, but you can't just be like, I showed up, give it to me.
Right.
Like, that's not really how it works. It's like, I showed up and I'm changing my mindset. I hear what you say, all those little things play into it. But I really like what you said about, I think you said an intentional decision leads to another intentional decision. And on the back end, that's why I think intentional living is so important, because for me, I feel more confident and more like I feel more accomplished when I live intentionally, because otherwise it's very easy to let every unintentional decision go into another unintentional decision, and then you're just complacent and 10 years have flown by, and you're still in the same spot, or didn't do everything you said you wanted to do. So I think with every decision, every thought, it doesn't have to have a whole lot of weight, but I think you should intentionally make a decision and think about the consequences or benefits or what routes it could lead you to.
Yeah, and I think it's like it's easier not to live intentionally. It's more comfortable. It's like you don't have to do much when you're not living intentionally. Intentionally, it's like you said, you have to put in work. Like you're constantly making decisions that benefit you.
Yeah.
And a lot of times those decisions aren't easy ones.
Yeah.
But it all, and also I like what you said is like, when you said like, oh, I showed up, like sometimes you can show up and make all the healthy decisions and live intentionally, and the universe is like, nah, that's not for you.
Yeah. This is not the time.
You want.
Yeah.
And you might get something you don't want.
Yes. But, and in that moment, so like, I forgot to say this too. You said failure. You don't like the word failure. I put quotes around the word failure because I don't like it either. But in those instances, it makes you go back and it may feel like a failure. But when you take your emotions out of it, or like you said, you don't really realize the lesson while you're in it. Later in life, post the lesson, you understand why you didn't get what you wanted or why things didn't happen how you wanted them to happen. And it's usually a blessing in disguise.
For the best.
Yes. What is the meaning behind Atabey?
Oh, I love that question. So, Atabey. So Atabey is she is the supreme goddess, Earth Mother, also known as Mother Nature, for the Tainos. And the Tainos are the natives from the Antilles, Hispaniola area. I don't know if you're familiar, but like for viewers or listeners who are not, it's pretty much the islands like Central America, like Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Jamaica, Haiti, that area there, Cuba. And so the Tainos, she was their main deity. So she was the goddess that they prayed to and looked up to. And those Tainos were there in the land of Antilles until Columbus came and colonized and forced labor onto them and raped them. And the culture has pretty much all but disappeared. But Atabey is still like a name that Tainos are will like say still to this day. They'll still acknowledge her as the goddess.
Oh, nice. So you're keeping her alive. I love that.
Yeah. So when I was like trying to name the organization, I called up like a mentor of mine, and she was like, well, like think about she's a pastor or chaplain, and she's like, think about what God means to you. Who is God to you? And at that time I was like struggling with my dad being sick and like struggling with faith and God and all the things. And I was like, oh, this is not the answer I want to hear. Like, I just wanted you to give me the name of the organization.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I started just looking into my own culture. I identify as Afro-Latina. So my dad's side is Dominican and my mom's side is Puerto Rican. And so I started looking up like Puerto Rican and Dominican goddesses, and Atabey was like the only thing coming up.
Nice.
And I was like, this is it. This has to be it.
So aren't you glad she didn't just give you the name of your company?
Yes, I am glad. But still in the moment I was like, this is not what I called you for.
Blessing in disguise.
I know it.
Okay, so I guess to wrap up, how did you stay positive, or how do you stay positive during difficult moments outside of nature?
Outside of nature.
Yes, because we know nature is number
everything. One. Nature is the only reason I'm positive. I don't know. I guess gratitude for the ability to do the things that I'm doing, the physical ability, the mental ability, the spiritual ability. Life could look very different for me. And I recognize that just based off the experiences that I've had, I could be in a totally different place right now or not be alive, to be frank. So I think gratitude for the opportunity to do something that I'm passionate about and something that I love to do. Not everybody gets that opportunity, and I'm thankful for that, and that keeps me positive. I also have a really great support system. Like, I'm not positive all the time. There's I struggle with some mental health issues. And so when I'm not feeling at my best, I think I lean on my family and my friends, and the friends that I've chosen to be family. So they help me a lot to, help me see all the things that I could be grateful for in those moments of darkness,
Yeah.
and see all my accomplishments and see how far I've come and how much I've been growing. So they help me out a lot. Yeah.
Well, I want to say thank you for being vulnerable and actually saying out loud that you're not always in good spirits and you struggle sometimes, because I think that's normal. I think that we all struggle more often than we like to admit, and it's okay. Like, life's not meant to be perfect. We're not meant to be perfect. We have emotions for a reason. We feel things, like we're human, and we all have our days. So it's just good to know that it's nice to try to normalize those things and say them out loud, because I'm not always okay either.
Yeah, I think it's so important to talk about that more. I try to be as open as possible. And it's important to show that to the girls too, because then they can see that it's okay to talk about not being okay.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. Well, I appreciate you being here. Oh, wait, there was one more thing. I saw on your Instagram you mentioned the REI Grant program. And since you said that you give all your kids, you provide the gear and stuff for all the kids, like, do you want to talk about that at all? Because I think that's huge, because gear is not cheap.
gear is not cheap. But it's so cool. I love gear. I could have a whole episode on gear. But yeah, so it's been really sweet. I got, I guess, I walked into REI one day and I was like, this is what I'm doing. Will you sponsor me? And like, it was a retail store. So the people were like, this is not what we do. Like, we just sell clothes. So they like gave me a name to a person, and then that person gave me a name to another person, and they reached out to me to be a part of their grant cohort program. So yeah, so they gave us a $5,000 grant, and then put us in touch with their warehouse out here. They have a REI warehouse here, and they also gave us an additional grant. And so they've been working with us to be able to provide the girls with starter packs, so that the girls could be able to go out on their own. So we've been able to provide the girls backpacks, bandanas, a hat, first aid kit, sunglasses, a water bottle, a journal. So everything they need to be able to go out on a hike
That's
with their
amazing.
family or by themselves.
Congratulations for being able to do that. And also, it is not easy to just like swallow your pride and go out there and just hustle for yourself and be like, well, we just gonna try it out. The worst they could do is say no. Like,
Right.
it's hard to do that. But it's amazing though that you did. So I'm very happy for you.
That's like the biggest thing I've learned though. Like, just ask. Like, literally the worst thing could be like is not, and then you just ask the next person, and usually the next person says yes.
Right. They're gonna say no, and then they're gonna forget about you, and you're probably gonna forget about them, and hopefully move on to the next. So it's okay to be told no. No's provide you.
And some people who've told me no have come back and been like, well, we'd like to work with you. And I'm like, oh, really?
Do I want to work with you now?
Right.
Okay, well, you're doing really amazing things. So do you want to tell everyone, especially people who are local to you, how they can get in touch with you or how they can sign their kids up in your program?
Yeah. So we have a couple events coming up. They're the last two events of this season, but we have ice skating this weekend and indoor rock climbing next weekend. And then we start back up in February. And you can see all of our adventures at www.atabeyoutdoors.com. And that's ATABEY outdoors.com. And once you get to the events page, you can fill out a registration form, RSVP for the adventure, and then we can get to adventuring. And then we're also on Instagram at Atabey Outdoors and Facebook at Atabey Outdoors. And like our email is probably the best way to contact me. It's hello@atabeyoutdoors.com.
Yay. And I know you are a nonprofit organization, correct?
Yes.
So do you have ways that people can donate to you if they want to donate, like Cash App, Venmo? I don't know, but you can plug yourself here because I understand.
Totally. So yes, we do accept monetary donations through Cash App and Venmo, and both are Atabey Outdoors. Everything Atabey Outdoors. And we'll be putting up a wish list on the website for certain gear that we need coming up for next season.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for being part of the show today. And I hope you continue doing what you do for so many years. Like, it's amazing. I stand behind it. And if I'm ever in the Arizona area, I don't know where Gilbert is either, but I'll look it up and see.
We'll go to Phoenix. I'm in Phoenix.
Oh, you're near Phoenix. Okay, I can make that work.
Yeah. Well, I'm right here in Phoenix, so come visit. And I'll be in Vegas soon, so I'll let you up.
Okay, yes, definitely.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, of course. And thank you to the Eunoia Lifestyle community for tuning in today. We'll be back next week. Peace.
Peace.